Welcome to The Walk-In, a podcast where doors stay open and stories unfold one conversation at a time. Hosted by Christopher Michael Sean, author, poet, actor, and lifelong student of people and purpose. Here, you're more than just a listener. You're part of the room, part of the story. In every episode, someone sits down, breathes deep, and shares what drives them, what keeps them moving, and what keeps them dreaming. This is a space for dreamers, doers, and those still finding their way. So pull up a chair, pour something warm, and let's take a walk into the soul.
Now recording. We love Craig. Craig is the best. Welcome in, Michael. This is, like I said, super chill, super relax. But if you want to introduce yourself, and we can get the podcast started.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Chris. I'm honored to be here. A little bit about myself. So my name is Michael Maroney, and I graduated from Michigan State actually back in May, which is crazy to think it's almost a year ago now. But I started in finance. I got a major in finance, and I concentrated in wealth management because I thought, that's what I want to do. That's the path. And I started working. I had the internships, like everything you're supposed to have. I had it. And I was like, I'm on the right track. I'm on what people are telling me is the right track. And as I kind of went along, I had the internships and I enjoyed it. But then at the same time, I started working in the real world. Right after I graduated, I got a job in wealth management. And the more I started, I was just like, this is not for me. This path is not for me. So I started mainly just kind of doing different things. Like, for example, the one of my TikTok accounts is just kind of that motivation just to keep people going. It was mainly created obviously it was for other people, but it was also for myself, just kind of reminders. It's like, okay, it's not so bad. Just keep on going. Just keep on pushing through it. Eventually you're going to find your way. And from there, afterwards, I just started doing more of what I loved, because it was a while I faced the harsh realization of, this is the first time in your life where every choice is yours. Nobody's telling you what to do anymore. Nobody's doing anything where, you should do this, you should do that. Obviously, people push you in that direction, but it's you. It's just you.
Yeah, no. That was similar to my experience as well. So, whenever I was in high school, I went through AP psychology. I went through regular psychology class, and I loved it. I went through like an introduction to acting class. I got honors, and then I went into a competitive acting class. I got honors, and then it was like, okay, so that's the avenue I'm going. That's what I love, so
Right.
I'm gonna go pursue that. So then I went into college, and I was studying psychology and acting, and I got my associates, and then I got a contract through Model and Talent Management, and then I got a certificate through John Casablancas, and then I got all this, and then and this was during COVID, and I had all the pieces that you'd think you'd need. I had an agent, I had a certificate, I had a degree, and you would think like, okay, you have all the puzzle pieces, awesome, and it just I realized really what was happening to the film industry then, and it's only
Mhm.
gotten worse since then. But essentially, that just wasn't something that I wanted, I guess. And I realized that even despite all the puzzle pieces, it really was up to me. Something that I learned in college, this is something they teach you whenever you get your acting degree, is that you're running your own business. You are your own business. And that's something that I had to learn more of later on, especially now that I'm running a podcast, especially.
Right.
But yeah, every little thing you do, it adds up. And I mean, honestly, and getting a degree, you said it was in what? Like something fancy, like money making
Finance.
is all I could
Yeah, well, yeah, the wealth management, like a financial advisor.
wealth management. Okay. Okay, financial advisement, which I mean, that sounds like it's good money, but and that's a lot of people think that the dream is money. But
Right.
I don't think so. I think honestly, the greatest dreams out there end up having you be like broke as hell. But internally, it's the richness internally. It's how you feel, how you're making others feel, and the profit you're providing the world. Like like you said, you created that TikTok, you're posting those TikToks, you're motivating other people, you're inspiring other people to chase their dreams. And that doesn't come from someone who just wants TikTok likes or follows. That comes from someone who's gone the path before, knows what it looks like, and knows how worth it is to chase yourself, to chase your dream. And I think that's incredible.
No, thank you. It's it's crazy because, I mean, I'm sure you are on that same path and you have these same thoughts, but it's like, we have this one life to take it and do something not necessarily for someone else, but just to kind of just be told what to do the entire time. It's like that's not what we're meant to be. That's not what we're here for, just to take orders for what, 40 years, retire, and then eventually, okay, have a family in between, all in between, have a family, the good things. And then from there, all of a sudden, okay, work for 40 years, retire, and then eventually die. It's like, it's not it's not a life that I want to live. And kind of going off of what you said of the ability, it's like, okay, you don't have the what you call it. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. But the ability to uh, lose that spark. It's like, okay, you know, the for example, I'm working and I'm not lying to you, Chris. The office that I was in, it was all beige. It was all beige. There was a light flickering above me. The building was a beige rectangle. I was like, is this who I'm supposed to be? And then I realized it's like it's not about the money. And like you said, where it's all of a sudden it's not about, you know, being able to have that wealth. It's being able to appreciate it more. Like, it's going to be a difficult path.
Mhm.
you know
But it'll be
it's
worth it in the end, absolutely.
exactly,
And I
exactly.
can see that how honestly entrapping that beige was, but honestly, I think that boring beige and the flickering light is probably what got you to realize that this is not where you wanna be, you know? Like, you wanna be
Right,
somewhere that's full of color, and you're stuck in a room that's beige with a flickering light. You know,
right.
there is so much color out there in the world, and we tend to miss it. We tend to close our minds to it because, well, I need to go to work, well, I need to do this, well, I need to do that. The thing is, we're all struggling, and I think there's real beauty in the idea that we're all struggling, so we might
Hmm.
as well struggle while chasing our dreams. Like, if you're going to struggle, you might as well do it while chasing what matters to you, in my opinion.
Like, kind of like, well, have you ever seen the Jim Carrey quote when he was at the award show? He said that his father, he had in a job as an accountant, and everything was safe, everything was good, and then all of a sudden his dad got let go, and he's like, well, if you can fail, or you know fail in quotations, at something that's safe, what would be the point of not taking that risk, not doing something that extra leap? It's like, yeah, you can fail, you can be 35 eventually, and it's like you could fail for at least me, I could fail for, well, I'm 23 years old, I could fail for 12 years and all of a sudden be 35 and still have a ton of time. Why would you not take that risk?
Yep, exactly. And that's really what happened. I hate to toot my own horn again, but that's really what happened to me is
Hmm.
I realized, it was right after me and my girl had broken up, and I was getting like we were married, so obviously I was
Hmm.
getting like a lot of the okay, I had to file for divorce, all that. And I I could have stayed in Oklahoma where it was comfortable. I could have stayed in
Hmm.
Oklahoma where everything was familiar. I knew everybody around there. I had responsibilities. I had family. I had friends. I had that was my whole life. But I
Yeah.
knew that I had to shift myself out of that comfortable mindset, out of that beige office with a flickering light. I had to,
Hmm.
because I knew that if I was gonna fail anyways with the
Hmm.
marriage, if I was gonna fail, I might as well fail doing what I love, you know? And
Right.
what I see a lot of people say is, "What's the point in trying if I'm not gonna succeed?" But I love your point because it's kind of like a response to that. You know, like, what's the point in trying if what's the point in trying if you're not gonna succeed? Well, what's the point in not trying if you're just gonna fail anyways? You might as
Right.
well fail. And
Right.
I've actually, like, I love that you put failure in quotations, because I've truly internally redefined what failure is. See, for me, failure is a necessary milestone on the pathway to success. If you want to succeed, you have to fail. Whenever you hop on a bike and you start riding the bike, you don't ride it and then fall off and go, "Well, I guess that's it." You don't look at the bike and go, "Well, what if I don't know how to ride it?" Unless you're my ex girlfriend. I did date a girl at one point where I literally spent $300 on a bike. She never rode it. It's actually
Oh.
still in my mom's storage shed. Kid you not. She rode it 2 blocks down the road, fell off of it, screamed bloody murder, threw the bike at me, and was like, "I'm never riding this thing again." I was like, "Alright.
Time for
Yes,
the training
ma'am."
wheels.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I understand it, though. I understand where she was coming from. But unless you're my ex-girlfriend, try, because let me tell you, the way the brain works, the brain doesn't
Mhm.
wanna fail. It doesn't matter if
Right.
you think subconsciously, because man, that internal voice, studying psychology, you actually learn a lot about that internal voice. It is a liar, and it is very good at lying to you. It will
Yeah.
whisper so much bullshit. I hope everybody out there will just do a little bit of research on, I wanna say it's called the default mode network, and it literally loves to keep you in a comfortable space. But whenever you move it away from that comfortable space and you put it in an environment where it's constantly going to fail, it actually forces itself. If you keep repeating those failures, it forces itself to evolve and to grow so it will stop failing, because its goal is comfort, because your mind's goal is comfort. If you move it
Right.
away from comfort, it will develop its own comfort through repetition. So, for
Ex-
instance, I came here to New York. I had nothing. I knew nothing about the state. I was completely oblivious and alone. I put myself in that environment, and that's exactly what caused me to quite literally save myself.
Exactly. It's just that 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 internal voice, it is a demon. It is just it's it's crazy how much if you could present yourself in a certain way and you could put yourself in certain situations like you did, but that voice will never stop. And like you kind of shape, like you said, kind of just shaping it the way the brain. I've seen. I've come to learn. Done some research on it too. The brain does not know what's real and what's fake. It doesn't perceive it. So if you can, like you said, if you can trick your brain, if you can force your brain to think a certain way, all of a sudden those type of events start happening for you. I'm a big believer in manifestation. Just being able, like, I write everything down. I'm gonna be this one day. I'm gonna be this. I'm gonna be this, this, and this, and tricking my brain. It's like almost like I already have it. I just picture it. It's like okay, all of a sudden it's just there. I have a wife and I have kids. It's there, and it's not going away because my I tricked my mind enabled in order to do that. And again,
Mhm,
yeah, that teeters on the fence of delusion. Some people would argue, where in a sense, because some people will look at me and they'll, well, you don't have a wife and you don't have kids right now. Yes, that is a good point. However, it's just I trick my brain and my mindset to a degree where it's already there. I already
mhm.
have a successful business. I've already like surrounded myself with just amazing family and friends. It's there.
Mhm. And isn't it a beautiful thing that we are in a position where we're able to do that? Because this is something I was thinking about the other day. Like, it is God, and our world is a crazy world right now, and it is a beautiful thing that we still have this ability to do that, to say, "Okay, look,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't have a wife yet. Yeah, I don't have kids. Yeah, I don't have, as much as I wish I did at this point." But that's exactly what motivates me to keep going. Because
Right.
man, isn't it beautiful that I get to chase these things? Isn't it beautiful that I get to be hopeful? And yeah, it's not nowhere near perfect. We all have our
Mhm.
bad days. We all have our moments. And I think it is really important to allow yourself to feel. And that's something that especially with guys, and this is something that me and a couple of people have talked about on the podcast about how as men, we get kind of taught at a young age that we're just supposed to put up with it and not
Right.
really, care about our emotions or care about our feelings or anything else like that. But there truly is a beauty to saying, okay, I'm going to allow myself a day to feel. I'm going to
Mhm.
allow myself to live in this rut, but I'm not gonna stay there. And maybe that's my obsession with Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender, but you can you can sit in a room and choose not to stay there. I think the exact phrase is you can walk into a room and choose not to stay there. And that's truly something beautiful. Allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to say, "Okay, I'm not there yet." And then walk out of that room and go, "But one day I will be." And there's another
Right.
element to this. This is a mantra that I've used a lot as well. And it's an analogy. It's like, imagine you're on a mountain range, like huge mountain range. There's mountains everywhere around you. All of us are climbing our own mountain towards our goals, towards our definition of success. And while we're climbing, life is going to throw stones at you. It's going to
Mhm.
throw stone after stone after stone. Not lemons, but stones. Sometimes lemons, sometimes. But if you
Right.
take every stone life throws at you and you use them to build a staircase up the mountain that you're climbing, you look back and you've built a cobblestone staircase. And that's exactly what it is. Because whenever people question you, "Oh, well, you got it easy. Oh, well, whatever,"
Mhm.
you can look back and go, "Well, look at what I've built." And actually, I have a
Right.
prime example of this. Someone yesterday, there was this girl that I dated back in God, I was like 16. I haven't spoken to her since then. She she called me through a friend's phone that I didn't even know she knew. I haven't thought about this girl in eons.
Yeah.
But I get a phone call from my friend Cassie, so I answer the phone, and
Mhm.
this girl's like, "Hey," and it kinda sounds like Cassie. I'm busy at the time, so like, "Hey, what's up?" She's like, "You don't remember me, do you?" And then she starts going into this tirade, about how, "Oh, well, I heard that you got married. What happened to that? Oh, I heard you dropped everything and went to New York. What's up with that?" And my
Mhm.
responses were just nonchalant. And I was like, "Yeah, I was married and I had a divorce. Yeah, I dropped everything and went to New York and chased my dreams, you know?
Right.
And I think that threw her off truly, but that was me looking back at the cobblestone staircase. I don't need to speak for it. It speaks for itself, you know?
Right.
And it's because every stone life threw at me, I used that. I used every insult. I used every failure. I used every moment of strife. And there's something else with the mountain analogy that I love as well is you're on this mountain. There are peaks, summits, and valleys.
Mhm.
Everybody's mountain is different, but we all experience peaks, summits, and valleys. Your peak might look like my summit. My valley might look like your peak. You know what I mean? And it's different
Yeah.
for everyone. It's a lot like, I don't know if you've ever seen that meme circulating of like, oh, I wish I had a yacht. Oh, I wish I had a Porsche. Oh, I wish you know what I mean? I wish, I wish, I wish, I wish. If we
Right.
if we compare ourselves to the other mountains around us, if I compare myself to your journey in a negative way, that's going to affect my progress. But
Right.
at the same time, if I insult you and say, well, you're not as good as I am, you're not doing as well as I am, that also affects. You know what I mean? It's that negative energy that you're allowing to go into the building up the mountain. I think we're all climbing anyway, so we might as well inspire one another. We might as well motivate and uplift one another. Does it help you along your mountain? Not necessarily. It doesn't help you along, but it does keep your mountain clear. It does keep it clean and positive, and it cleans out any sort of negativity. And I think it makes up for a lot of what people consider to be failures. Like if you have a day of rest, people like me, I hate a day of rest. I've been on spring break.
Yeah.
I'm dating the episode now, but I've been on spring break for a couple of days, and every day I've had to do something productive,
Mhm.
something. And I can't just sit down and, like, read a book or watch a movie or go hiking. I can't go hiking right now because the weather's awful, but I yeah, what's up with this cold, bro? I thought it was spring. I thought it was spring. What
Dude,
the f anyways,
yeah.
I heard Michigan's
Well,
getting it worse, but
oh, it's terrible, right? Like the Michigan, I don't get it. It's the most bipolar I've ever seen. 70 degrees 2 days ago. Actually, yesterday it was 70 degrees, and now today I think we're in a windstorm with rain. I don't know what's going on, man. It's crazy.
oh, man. Yeah,
But
no, and
no, go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
No, 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 go ahead.
Oh, no, I wanted to stay on thought that negative thought process that you mentioned because, like you said, in the comparison where it's like, oh, I wish I had that, wish I had that. It's such a negative mindset where it's able to change. It's almost necessarily, I want to call it a victim mentality in a sense because it in a way, it's like, okay, you see someone driving a beautiful car down the road, some Porsche, some Lambo, well, you name it. And there's always gonna be 2 people in that situation. There's gonna be one that says, "Oh, I wish I had that," or like, "Oh, it's probably daddy's money," or something like that, where they think the negative. And then there's gonna be the other person that sits there and says, "Okay, this person, what does this person do?" And you start to analyze it. What does this person do? How are they gonna get this? How did they get this car? What kind of lifestyle did they sacrifice to be able to afford that
Mhm,
car and have that life that they apparently that they wanted to have. So it's kind of like almost a constructive frame of mind. You change the mindset on the same exact scenario. There's two sides to every coin. You just change it. It's like, how can I obtain that? How can I achieve that? Instead of saying, "Oh, I
mhm.
wish, I wish, I wish."
And I completely agree, and I think that a lot of it does have to do and whenever we look at it, and I do
Hmm.
think comparison is the greatest enemy of success, one of the greatest enemies
Hmm.
of success. Comfort and comparison, the 2 C's you should avoid when pursuing success.
Right.
Comparison and comfort, both of those are enemies to success, and I think whenever we are looking at it and we're going, "Okay, how did he get to where he is?" You have to
Hmm.
look at it a lot like a spider web. Every single spider web is unique, but it has the same idea, the same function. Different spiders have different webs, but they all have the same function. Now, it's that same thing whenever it comes to success. Anthony is someone that's been on the podcast a couple of times. He is an
Hmm.
amazing voice actor. I want to be a successful voice actor. He is getting hundreds of thousands of likes and views on TikTok. He's getting a lot of people coming to him for coaching he's coaching young voice actors and stuff like that. He's doing
Hmm.
very well in the voice acting world. As a matter of fact, his I think his voice is so much better than mine. I love his voice. He's a great voice actor. Whenever I look at him, I go, "Okay, he's on a different path than me, but his spider web might be different, but it has the same function." I have a different like chemical formula to my spider web. I have the podcast, I have the psychology, I have the open mic nights. He has a completely different spider web. He's coaching people. He's got this studio, he's going live on TikTok, but it's the same idea. It's the same
Right.
purpose. We both have a very similar dream. Now, I kind of look at him like he is doing better than me, which is okay. I'm
Hmm.
honoring that because I love, first of all, I love the fact that I'm able to see someone succeed. And I think that's really the goal of my podcast is to see everybody that's ever been on the podcast and everybody who's listening on the podcast. I want to see them succeed. It fills me with so much joy, you know.
Right.
Eileen, who was also on the podcast, she just hit 200 daily listeners for her music on Spotify.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, yo, that is amazing. That is
Right.
awesome. So, yeah, I'm texting her and I'm texting Anthony and I'm telling like, I'm fangirling over their work, and I'm like, "Anthony, like, oh my god, man." I think exactly what I texted Anthony was like, "Oh, yeah, now that you're big and famous, you're gonna forget about me, huh?" And he was like, "No, I'm not famous yet." I was like, "Okay, sure, big shot." Just
Right.
teasing him. And I texted Eileen and I was like, "Dude, that's incredible. Like, congratulations.
Mhm.
Like, that's awesome." You know? I I do think that everyone's spider web is different, but it all like if you want to be an author, if you want to be an actor, if you want to be the president of the United States of America, you don't need to follow someone else's formula to get the same potion. You don't need to copy their spider web to get the same function because everyone's is different. You might not be very good at whatever formula they're using. That
Right.
doesn't mean that you're a failure. That means that your formula is different. That means that your path is different, even if it's towards the same goal. Everyone's dream is beautiful because it is unique to them. Their journey is unique to them. I don't know anything about your childhood. I don't know anything about what you went through as a kid. But what I can tell you is psychology says your mind, first of all, psychology says everybody's minds pretty much function the same, but it is your experiences in your mind that create who you are. Uh, my professor, Dr. Stellar, who wants to be a guest on the podcast someday, which would be awesome, he
Mhm.
said that his wife literally cannot stand milk, that she throws up anytime she tastes it. But if he adds a little bit of sugar, it's fine, and she has no issue with it.
Wow.
And it's a response, I forget the exact term, but it is a response to whenever she was a kid, she would always, like I think she had, like, a really bad incident of, like, throwing up whenever she ate milk or something like that, or it might have been
Mhm.
cheese, maybe it was cheese, something some dairy product, and I just think to myself, you know, when I was a kid and I was at, Six Flags Over Texas, every
Mhm.
time we went, someone I'm not gonna say what happened to them, but they would shut down the entire park because there was always an incident, and it was always traumatic. I learned very quickly as a kid, I hate roller coasters, and I will
Yeah.
not ride a roller coaster. I will go to every fair, every theme park in America, and I will watch you get on a roller coaster, and I will have fun watching you from 30 feet away, but I will not get on a roller coaster. I will spend my money on the cheap arcade games and have a good time that way. But yeah, just round out my point here. Everyone's journey is different. Everyone's mind is built differently, but it doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. It means that your formula is unique to you. You know, we all have our
Right.
own journey towards this great thing that we call success.
Right. And success is so relative too. It's funny that you mentioned this is because so I had a conversation with a friend the other day and I was telling him, I was like, I need to do this by this time. I need to do this by this time. And he stopped me. He was just like, What are you doing? What are you talking about?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I have deadlines." And he's like, "Compared to who? What deadline do you have?" And then I stopped in my tracks, and immediately I was like, "Yeah, you you're right."
Mm,
He's like, "You don't have there's no timeline." Kinda just going off of what you said, everybody has their own web. There's no specific deadline for anything. There's, yeah, school is different, right? Yeah, yeah, you have a homework due at, Sunday night at 11:59 PM. But in life, following your dreams, doing what you love to do, there's no timeline. Why are you stressing yourself out and rushing through things? One, you're not gonna do as good of a job as normally if you weren't stressed out. If you were truly just following your passion and following your dreams, you're not gonna do as good of his job. But if you also just took a minute and kind of like you said earlier on, just kind of took a rest, just allowed your mind to relax. I'm the same way as you. Like I told my mom, I was like, she's like, "Why don't you ever relax?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll relax when I'm dead." You know,
mm,
it's like but I'm that same type of person. I like the go, go, go mindset. It's when I have a break, I'm like, how can I fill that void of time doing something productive? But then again, you have to see the other side of the coin where it's like, okay, sometimes in order to be more productive, you have to take a step back and see everything from kind of a relaxed, empty mind point of view. And
Mhm.
okay, how can I improve on what I just did, what I just spent hours of my life on, or even days, weeks, month, you name it? How can I improve on this? What am I missing? You sometimes need that relaxation period where it's just kind of more meditative than anything else.
There's something beautiful in psychology, and it has to do with exactly what you just said with the quiet mind mentality. Whenever our minds are rushed, they actually perform worse than when they're calm. They did an experiment where they challenged a group of individuals. They said, "All right, everyone do your best on." I think it was just like a standard challenge. Like I think it was like a run
Mhm,
challenge or something. Um, okay, everybody do this test. Everybody, you have like try and accomplish that. It was like a run test, I think. So like run
mhm,
over there, run back, and they performed really well. And then afterwards, they said, "Okay, now we're gonna do it again, but this time, if whoever wins, you get $30, you know?"
mhm.
And they actually performed worse that time. And it's really interesting because whenever your mind understands that there are stakes, when your mind understands that there is pressure, that there is,
Mhm.
you know, timeline and everything else, it performs worse than when it's calm.
Right.
And I would challenge anyone who has any problem ever. They're really, and this is super cliche, but breathe. Before you even
Mhm.
think, breathe. Detach yourself from the situation first. Allow your mind to say, okay, yes, this is happening, but it's not the end of the world. And I'll give a great example to your, and I love exactly what quiet mind mentality. It's a great point. So September of last year, I drove back to Oklahoma to finalize my divorce with my ex, and I literally only made it like 4 hours into my drive. I had just crossed the Pennsylvania state line when a trucker came into traffic and didn't merge properly, didn't use his signal, and fled the scene, uh, without even, like, a second thought.
Jesus.
Yeah, and what's crazy is on his way, driving away, speeding away, he used his turn signal. Thank God I had dash cam, because whenever I called the police and they saw the dash cam, they're like, "Oh my f like, we need to go get that trucker," and I was like, "Oh, man." And what's crazy, even crazier, my friend Joey bought me that dash cam for like $300. Whenever I got home back to New York, I was like, "Dude, you have no idea how much you fucking saved my ass. Like, I really appreciate it. Like, there's no way I could ever pay you back for that, you know?" Um, anyways, so after that wreck happened, I'd been perfect driver since I got a license. And a
Mhm.
lot was going through my mind. I've been driving for 6 years. This was my first accident. I'm thinking my whole record is fucking destroyed. My
Yeah.
insurance is gonna go up. Do I even wanna continue the drive? Because the drive to Oklahoma is 26 hours
Wow.
total. Yeah. I was thinking, like, do I call my mom? Do I call my dad? Do I go back to New York? Do I just say, "Fuck it"? Is this a bad
Mhm.
sign? And then I stopped, and I sat in my car, and the officer was talking to me. And he could tell that I was that I was going through a lot, and he said, "Listen, there's a gas station, like, it's not even 2 blocks from here. There's an exit. Take the exit. There's a gas station. Pull over and give yourself a second." So that's what I
Mhm.
did. I called my mom, and I called my dad, and let me tell you, I might have been this 26-year-old guy bawling his eyes out on the side of the road, and then and at a gas station to his mom and dad like he's fucking 16 again. I was trying my best not to, because I really don't cry, that's not something I do, but I
Yeah.
allowed myself to have that moment, and then I sat in the car, and I took a breath, and
Mhm.
I knew this was a problem for sure. This was a big deal, but it didn't have to be solved today. The
Right.
insurance company is aware of the situation. The police are aware of the situation. My mom and dad are aware of the situation. My dad's waiting for me in Kentucky. My dad lives in Kentucky. And I was like, that's where I need to be right now. So then I get back
Mhm.
on the road. I'm not thinking about the fact that my door, because basically what happened is the trucker actually hit the well, whenever he moved into traffic, he pulled me out of my lane, which caused another vehicle to strike me in the door. So
Oh, I see. Okay.
it was my driver's side that took the brunt of the damage, and it was my driver's side fender. I was at the gas station. I ripped off a little piece of plastic to keep driving, and I got back in the car. I was ignoring the fact that I could hear wind, and it was breaking my heart that my brand new car that I just gotten, by the way, I could hear wind gusting in through the door for 24 extra hours. And so I pull in. So my dad's house was only like another 8-hour drive. So I pull into his house, and I'd only been to my dad's house a couple of times, but like I said, really felt like I was 16 again, and I was really trying not to feel like that. But once again, I allowed myself to feel, which is
Mhm.
important, and I was allowing myself to breathe. I was allowing my brain to have that quiet brain moment, and I wasn't allowing it to traumatize me. And this is something in psychology as well. What affects that girl with the milk, where she's throwing up
Mhm.
milk every time she tastes it, is the same thing here. I had every right to just be terrified of driving, never want to drive again. But it's
Mhm.
because I allowed my brain to go, okay, let's be quiet for a bit. Let's not think about this right now. Yes, this is important, but it's not the end of the world, you know?
Right.
So, I get to Kentucky, and I go into my dad's house. I pull into the driveway. It's like 2:30 in the morning, way later than I was supposed to get there. Um, and previously my dad was on the phone with me. My dad is very strict. He was in the army for 23 years. He's very strict. And the
Okay.
first car I bought was a Kia Forte. I bought it with him as a cosigner. And I had just paid off that car and then gotten a new car fully in my name. So a lot of also what was going in my mind was my father's going to think I'm a disappointment because the moment I had something independently in my name, I
Mhm.
failed. And it's that
Right.
failure mentality coming back. But I allowed my mind to be quieted. I said, no, 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 that's not important right now. I pull into my dad's house 2:30 in the morning. My father is out on the deck. He's got his cane out. He's looking out to me. The dogs are rushing to the car. The sound of crickets and I just man, it was peaceful. It was calm. Kentucky
Mhm.
was cozy. It was that misty, foggy feel. It was nice. And I go into his house. My stepmom is there. My dad's like, "Yeah, we got this spare bedroom all ready for you." But like I said, I've only been to my dad's house a couple of times, and I knew all I was thinking about for the extra 8 hours was his man cave. And there's this huge beanbag chair. I mean, huge. And so I ignored the spare bedroom. I went straight for the man cave and just threw my ass on that beanbag chair and passed out. And my dad, whenever we woke up, my dad was like, "Did you really have to sleep there? Like, I had a whole spare bedroom. We worked so hard to clean it." I was like, "Dad, look, I needed this beanbag chair. You have no idea
Yeah.
how much I needed this beanbag chair." And it really, my dad wasn't always around for me whenever I was a kid, but he is a great father,
Mhm.
and I I don't know what I would do without him, honestly, because that situation, his reaction to it reinforced that quiet mind mentality. It really
Yeah.
did, because he wasn't angry. He wasn't, "Oh, well, you're a failure. Oh, did you call the insurance? Oh, did you call the pol oh, did you do the oh, did you do that? Why did you do this? Let me see the dash cam. Why did you react that way? Why did you do this? Why did you do that?"
Mhm.
He sat with me, and we he didn't even wanna talk about the accident. We went to the diner with a friend of his, and by the way, being up here in the Northeast and then hearing a Southern accent, hearing somebody come up to the table and go, "All right, darling, what will you have today?" And I'm just over here like, "Oh, you're gonna break my heart. You're gonna break my heart. First of all, I'll take a glass of sweet tea, thank you. And second of all,
Right.
Man, there's something, and I've traveled the country a few times, and it's
Mhm.
always whenever I get close to home that I hear the accents and I feel the hospitality, and I'm just like, oh, I'm so close to home. I could cry right now. Uh, and there's actually more to that. There's this guy at one of the guys that comes into work sometimes, and uh, he's decked out in OU, like OU's like Oklahoma University,
Yeah.
and that's like my football team, and I'm like, yo, it's the Oklahoma guy. It's like seeing rare Pokemon, but I fucking love it up here in New York. I
Yeah.
love it whenever I run into an Oklahoman. But anyways, yeah. So it's that quiet mind mentality. My father did something that he probably didn't even realize he did, but he reinforced that idea that if you just quiet your mind a little bit, you have more focus and you're more likely to respond to things better. And it sounds like a cliche to say just breathe
Mhm.
before you react, breathe before you do anything else. But it truly is, it's like a superpower that we all have. If you anything you wanna do, if you wanna go to college, if you're stressed about rent, if you don't know what you're gonna do about work, just take a moment, allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to cry on the phone for an hour about a fender bender, and then say, "Okay, we're gonna keep moving. We're gonna keep moving,
Mhm.
even if we don't have the answers today." And this is also something that I love that you said, and it goes back into what you said earlier about how, yeah, you might not have this, you might not have that right now, but you will. And it's
Mhm.
it's on your mind, it's in your head. Like, I have on my wall here surrounding my computer a lot of OU stuff, a lot of Oklahoma stuff. I have a picture of my rearview mirror from Philadelphia. I have there's this Rose thing. There's this girl named Adeline that was on my podcast a few times. I forget what she called it, but there's this thing in like the spiritual therapy world where they draw a rose and they tell you what your rose means, like what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you need to work on, stuff like that. I have that up
Okay.
there. I have a quote from my father. I have my old license plate from my old Kia in Oklahoma. And I also have, interestingly enough, is and this goes back into the accident. So whenever I got to my dad's house, he suggested that I put tape on the door so that I couldn't hear the wind. First of all,
Mhm.
worked like a charm because of course dad knowledge for the win. But also I did it in gold. My car is this green color, very foresty color, but I did it in gold. And I put duct tape on the fender covering the damage. I wasn't hiding the damage, it was gold, and I knew kintsugi is something. I don't know if you know what kintsugi is, but it's this Japanese,
No.
uh, kind of it's this Japanese practice where they believe that something that is broken is actually more valuable because of the stories the cracks tell. So whenever a pot breaks, the Japanese would repair it with gold in the cracks and the seams
Oh,
because they believe
okay.
that now that pot is more valuable because of its damage, because of its failure, because of where it broke. And and now I have that framed. The car got fixed. The trucking company paid for everything. It was a very nice paycheck. And
Yeah.
um and I still have a lot of the money today. I'm scared as hell to spend any of it. But yeah, I have the duct tape framed, and I actually had everybody in Oklahoma. Whenever I got to Oklahoma, I had everybody sign it like a freaking arm cast. So now I have
Nice.
this I have this gold strip from the damage of my car, and right next to it is a picture of me on the lake by Mount Scott, Lake Latonka by Mount Scott in Lawton, Oklahoma, the city that I was born
Mhm.
in Oklahoma. That's where I threw my wedding ring. That's the lake that and if I could, I'll send you this picture. Actually,
Okay.
I'm gonna send you this picture right now,
Okay.
just so you can see it. One second. All right. So this first one here, that's the bandage from my car. So that's everybody having signed the cast, and you can see my friend Brett, his huge signature, Leroy, Shelly, all these people, and then the second one, that is the and I truly believe that God painted the sky that day.
Yeah.
And what's really
Oh, that is a
beautiful about
beautiful
this,
photo.
isn't it gorgeous?
It is.
And what's amazing, first of all, I don't know if you've ever been to the South, but the cicadas sound different down there. the air was full of the sound of cicadas, and it was gorgeous because the cicadas up here in New York sound differently than the ones back home. And I knew I was home, and I knew I was like, ah. And this scene right here, so you've got Mount Scott, you've got the soft clouds, and above there's just like a little bit of clouds above the mountain, stretching
Hmm.
off to the right, the beautiful sunset, and it's casting right above that smaller part of the mountain. It's casting a shadow all across the lake to that little like peninsula that I'm standing on.
Yeah.
And I truly believe God painted the sky that day. And there's a few reasons why. First of all, I wasn't even my original plan, kind of like whenever I was on my way from New York and I made it to my dad's house, all I was thinking about was the beanbag chair. I'd been thinking about this right here, throwing my ring into the lake. I actually was supposed to be burying my ring on that mountain, but the hiking trails were closed because they closed at 7. I arrived in Lawton, Oklahoma at 7:15. Everything happens for a reason.
Right.
Yeah, how crazy is that timing? How
Right.
crazy is that? I arrived just at sunset, just as that and look at that sun, man, perfectly
Oh, it's
placed there.
beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful.
The water's
So,
so calm
eh
too. It's
yeah,
just
so I wanted to look yeah, super calm. So I this is not only is this printed out and also placed on my wall over here, um, but it's it's also the screensaver on my computer. I'm very
okay.
dramatic with this picture. I love this picture so much. And what I looked it up. I looked up the meaning, the spiritual meaning behind mountains versus lakes. And water is like rebirth. Mountains are reflection. And I was like,
Mhm.
I can see that God was writing a script for me, and it was very much so. He wanted me to release and rebirth. He wanted me to release the
Yeah.
ring, release that chapter, let it close, let him handle it, and then be born again. And the new chapter be something amazing and beautiful. I had done enough reflection. I didn't need to be on the mountain. I needed to be at
Mhm.
the lake. And that is gorgeous. Gorgeous
Yeah.
symbolism. And I mean, you can blame the fact that I'm a theater kid for why I see symbolism and everything and why I try to look at everything symbolically. But I do think that it is you who creates purpose from the madness. If you can look at a situation and go, "Okay, what can I do in terms of making this meaningful?" And it goes back to that car accident because at
Mhm.
the time, my mind was like I said, my mind was going. And I was like, "I really don't know what to make of this. What was the point of this? Why did this happen? I cannot find a reason, a purpose behind this." We're talking about somebody who creates mantras in his sleep, and I could not figure out why that happened. But I quieted my mind and I said, "It is not my duty, it is not my job to do that right now. It is not something that is important right now. I can keep moving forward without solving this problem."
Right.
Yeah. That was a
Well, yeah.
very long tirade about quiet mentality, and I'm very sorry for
No.
taking over. But
No, not at all. It was just there's so many beautiful points that you made in that story. Well, and I wanted to touch on this too. Like everything happens for a reason. It's I'm a firm believer in that. And like you said, like it's like all of a sudden, boom, 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 one event after another, one event after another. It's just and like that voice, that inner voice that we were talking about earlier, just gets louder and louder and louder and the fact that you were able just to, okay, inner voice, stop for a second. Let me just be in the moment, be in that present moment and be able just to think through. The world is still going to spin whether you work on that issue at hand or not. It's the world keeps on going. And the, everything happened like that beautiful scenery, that beautiful photo would not have happened if you would have never got into that accident because it would, obviously it would just have been a continuous trip and not like some sort of delayed trip. So it, it's such a like the beauty comes out of the things that we least expect always. And it's funny too. So for me, when I I was working the job right out of college And it during that time, I was looking at myself, and I like every day in the mirror, I'd wake up, get ready, and look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, okay, it's still me, still me. And then a couple months went down, kept on going, and I looked at myself in the mirror. I said, that's not me. That's I don't recognize that person that's looking back at me. I don't see the spark in his eyes. And and so I I decided then and there, I was like, okay, this is only going to be a matter of time before I'm gone from this place. And so I I sat there, and I I told my parents, and I was really scared. Kind of like what you said about your dad. My dad is very like, the strict to the book type of personality. And he's always, like, it's like, okay, I do something. What am I doing? At least it feels like it's like, what am I doing wrong in his eyes? Because I want his approval, essentially. I want to see, you know, or I want him to see me in a good light in his eyes. And he wanted me to get this job in finance. He wanted me to do all these things because that's like, the good route. You get to brag about your kid. It's like, oh yeah, my son's doing this. He's working in finance. He has, good job. Great. But then all of a sudden, I I drove home that day from work, and I went to my dad's, and I looked at him straight in the eyes. I said, Dad, I'm not gonna last at this place. This I want to quit. And I was expecting just, stick it out, stick it out. Basically, what are you talking about? And he looks at me, he goes, okay. And I stopped in my track because I was almost preparing like a defense. I was like, well, it's going to be this. Wait, what did you say? and, I just, and and so I stopped in my tracks, and him and I had a really, really good conversation. He said, listen, I know that your personality has changed. You've been more reserved, more quiet. You don't seem happy. And at the end of the day, I want what's best for you. And in that moment, I was just taken aback. It was like, I thought in my head, I'm like, oh, I thought you were all about, the money, the comfort, like the safe path. And I told him, I said, I want to pursue my dreams. I want to be an inventor. I want to be an author. And he told me, okay, I I support your decision no matter what. And, kind of going to what you said, just to be surrounded by that atmosphere, both my parents. I thank God every day. I'm surrounded by amazing family and amazing friends. To have that sort of support system, because I know, like, for me to come in and only stay for 4 months at this first job, only stay for 4 months. It's like, if I was a parent, my first thought was like, what is my son doing? Why is he going this route? So to take that and be so supportive, I that really was a mindset changer. And so flash forward, I go in, and I quit. I give him my 2 weeks notice, and and then all of a sudden, once that day ended, the inner voice started to get louder, louder and louder. It's like, okay, what next? What now? And and so I sat there, and I stayed up. This was like the night after. I stayed up till like 2, maybe 3 in the morning, just thinking in silence. No phone, no distractions. It's like, what's my next move? How can I go forward? Like, where am I going to make ends meet? Where's my next paycheck coming from? What is my next paycheck even going to be? What kind of jobs am I going to be working? Stuff like that. Just all these sorts of, and it just kept on getting louder and louder. And finally, I I stopped for a moment and I sat down and I prayed. I said, God, I know the path that I have just chosen is a very difficult one. Please give me some sort of guidance, some sort of advice, and allow me to be steered on the right path. And the next day, I I ended up getting a call from one of the people, one of the advisors that worked at my my firm, and she, her and I, it's crazy, talking about the spider web and everything happens for a reason. There's the advisor that I was directly under, she went on vacation. And so this other advisor came in and she had me do some work during that time because I wasn't really busy. And so her and I started talking and talking and talking. And eventually she was just like, "Hey, listen, like you know, I like what you do for me. You do good work for me. Can you keep on doing work?" So I was kind of just doing both her and the other advisor. And eventually, when I quit, I get a call from her that next day. And she said, "Hey, listen, I have a company on the side. Would you like to work for me? Like, I really like the work that you do. Would you like to work for me and just see where we go from there?" And immediately it clicked. It was like that inner voice, all those thoughts, all that stressing out. It just clicked. It's like everything's going to be okay. Everything does happen for a reason. If I would have never went to that place, to the firm that I did right after I graduated, if I would never went there, then I would have never met this lady who now I'm working for or working with. None of that would have happened if I would have stayed there, and I would have been miserable and I wouldn't have been myself. So that it's not as cool as the sunset story. I don't have a wonderful picture of myself in front of a mountain. That would be amazing. But it just shows that everything happens for a reason. And I learned too, they gave me a lesson at from that place. At least I took something from there. They gave me an exercise. It's called think, feel, do. So whenever the voice, and hopefully people who are listening to this can apply this to their lives too. But in the moment when the voice gets loud and you feel like you're stressed out, all of a sudden you snap yourself out of it. Okay, think, feel, do. What am I thinking about right now? So you answer that, whatever it is. What am I doing? So whether you have your legs crossed, you're tapping a pencil, you're tapping your thumb, whatever it is, whether you have something going on, and what am I feeling? How are my thoughts making me feel, basically? And it brings you immediately back to that present moment.
Mm. You're describing centering yourself with it, which is actually like it's a therapy move. And it's very smart and it's very powerful. Literally go and there's another one that's very similar that I know is like name three things that you can see, three things that you can feel. That is so awesome that you've practiced that. That is incredible.
I grew up in an Italian family where everybody was really competitive. Everybody's an athlete, so we're all playing sports all the time, and in that, the negatives of being competitive is that everybody, okay, something doesn't go your way, it's quick temper. It's it's like quick. It's like, oh, a couple jabs, a couple like insults thrown in there. I was like, all right, it's all in good fun, and it's good. But the one negative is that it sometimes it is difficult to bring yourself to that present moment because something negative happens, or even something like basic. All of a sudden, the first instinct that comes to mind is lash out. It's almost like, oh, someone cut you off. It's it's like, really? There's a few more insults thrown in there, but that's the gist of it. Um, but to be able to bring yourself to that present moment is I found it extremely helpful
Mhm.
just in everyday life.
Yeah, that's incredible. And honestly, I'm proud of you. I really am. Like, I know that I'm pretty much a stranger. Well, I'm more like friends now, hopefully, but
Right, yeah,
I
yeah.
am very proud of you. Like, that's incredible. And as dramatic as my story is, there is something that I've said before. Everyone has their sunset. Everyone has their
Mhm,
mountain view. You know, you said that you don't have a dramatic, beautiful picture of you facing a mountain. You will have that moment. You will. And I'm sure, that moment that you've already had is kind of the same. Maybe not as, beautiful and dramatic, but you will have that moment where you're facing a mountain and you can look at it and go, that's a mountain I've climbed. That's where I've been,
mhm.
you know? And you you mentioned that you want to be an author and you mentioned another a few other dreams. And I really want to have the opportunity um next time, definitely. We should definitely record again. That way we can talk more about your dreams and who you are because today was great. We're talking about passion and purpose, centering yourself. And I really love talking with you. I want to have the opportunity to talk more about your dreams because this really is what the podcast is about. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity here for us to just have some great conversations. Um,
Oh,
so
100%.
yeah, and there is something that I wanna leave you with, and this is something that we discussed before recording. There are there are dreamers and there are wayfinders, and the wayfinders is you, and it's basically you're lighting the world so that others can see. This world is a very dark, loud world. It is a
Mhm,
very scary world that we live in. There's a lot going on, and it can be very disheartening to feel motivated, to feel inspired, to keep pushing forward. But what you are doing in your daily life, you are holding up a lantern and you are saying, "Hey, I've been through this. I've been through the dark as well. Let me help you see the light." And you're allowing others to come around you. Imagine you're on a very dark road. It's like a mountain pass and it's dark, it's ominous, it's foggy, but there you are holding up a lantern, and people gather for the light. They hold out empty torches, and you light those torches for them. They might not stay, they might not even talk to you, you might not even know they were there, but you simply holding up your lantern is going to save so many people who are stuck in that rut. And what's incredible is it really is the struggle that builds the strength. And that's what I'm most proud of with you is that the struggle built your strength. And it's just incredible. You've been blessed because you've blessed others. And I hope you can see that as well.
No, I mean, I really appreciate you saying that. It's not often that I really do look at kind of what you said, where it's like I kind of just look at myself as like existing. It's like it sounds weird, but it's like I don't really. I'd love to be that type of person, to be that caretaker. It's like, but sometimes I don't see myself. So I really appreciate you saying that. It really means a lot.
Yeah.
But I did wanna touch, I know, kinda wrapping things up here, but I did wanna touch too, it's like, I feel like as when you say the dark world that we live in, I feel like social media has a lot to do with that, unfortunately. It's
Oh
like there's
man.
so many beautiful, beautiful things about social media, but everybody, you see social media, especially, you know, um, Instagram, even a little bit TikTok too. It's like, you see everybody presenting. It's like everybody wears a mask, in a sense. Or actually, I shouldn't say everybody. The majority of people, they all wear a
Mhm.
mask and they put
We
on. No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, I was just gonna enforce what we all see what they want us to see. We see the
E
version of them that they want us to see.
Exactly, exactly, and it's like, there should be more just living truly in the moment, just being in that nature, and I'm guilty of it too. Like I'll be scrolling on my phone and I'll look up. I'm like, wow, it's been an hour and a half. I need to do something. Like, what am I doing right now? But to be able to live in that moment and just to be present, go outside. Right now, not much to go outside too, but overall, nature is beautiful. It's God's gift to the world. So just being able to get off your phone for a little bit and see what's truly out there.
Yeah. Yeah. We could do a whole freaking web series on media and media literacy, social media, its effects on us. And let
Yeah.
me tell you, we absolutely should. We should do. I can already tell that we have we could talk all night
Oh
and have
yeah.
some great conversations. We'll talk more, absolutely. And that I think that's a great note to leave on as well. Is for everyone out there, like the comparison. It all rounds out to the same. Comparison is
Hmm.
an enemy of success. And yeah, thanks for being on, and we'll end the recording and go about that. Is there anything you want to say before we call it?
Not. I mean, other
Nope,
than
just that final
yeah,
message. Yeah.
it. I mean, just keep on going. Whatever. If you're going
Keep
through
on.
something, just just keep on going. Keep on pushing
As
through
a
because there's
as a
always.
wise fish once said, keep swimming. Just keep swimming.
You're right. Just keep swimming.
All right. Incredible. So I will.
Hey there, this is friend of the show, Anthony Ziello, and I just wanted to say thanks for stepping into the walk-in today. If this episode spoke to you, go ahead and follow the show, and catch us every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. You can find the walk-in on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube Podcasts, pretty much anywhere you listen. And if you want to hang with our community, come join the Discord. We'd love to have you there. A huge shout out to the Podmatch community for having us with them. Their support for dreamers is unmatched. Until next time, take a breath, stay inspired, and as always, we'll walk together again next week.